I am going to get us started just because I know it's right two on the dot, but we have a packed agenda, so I'm going to keep going. So welcome everybody. I'm Michelle Lewandowski. I'm the archivist for the School Sisters of Notre Dame and Milwaukee, and I am also the president of Archivists of Congregations of Women Religious, ACWR. And I'd like to welcome you today to the last in our leadership series, which has been a five-part series in which we've discussed various topics that affect leaders of women religious and archivists. And today we're going to be doing an update on the 5 main collaborative archives that are happening here in the US. I just want to remind everybody this is being recorded and it will be sent out to participants afterwards. Please make sure you're muted. And if you have any questions afterwards, please either raise your hand or send it to chat, and I will be moderating as we go. I'm going to introduce every speaker ahead of them speaking just to keep it easy since we have 5 people speaking rather than a long chunk at the beginning. And I think those are the main housekeeping things, so I will get us started. So our first speaker is going to be Sister Susan Durkin. Oh, one last thing, sorry. I had to reduce their biographies because everybody is very distinguished and has a lot of, have done a lot of amazing things. So the full bios will be in the chat, and I'm just going to give a real abbreviated version just so that we're not spending so much time on that. So our first speaker is Sister Susan Durkin, who is the Executive Director of the Women Religious Archives Collaborative, a collaborative space that will be in Northeast Ohio. She has been an Ursuline Sister of Cleveland for 38 years. Her ministries include elementary school teacher, children's program director for an HIV/AIDS ministry, advancement director for her congregation, and 2 terms as congregational president. And so Sister Susan is going to talk to us about WRAC.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be with everybody today. I appreciate it. So right off the bat, you can tell from my bio, I am not an archivist, but as a former leader, this whole issue of archives became increasingly important to my community as we needed to move our archives out of our former mother house. So that's how I got involved in this type of work. So I'm going to share my screen now to tell you a little bit about who we are. So there we go. So as Michelle mentioned, we are going to be located in Northeast Ohio, and we are right outside the city center of downtown Cleveland. We call ourselves an archive collaborative. You know, that's important in our name because that is how we have formed ourselves. That's how our structure is. Our board contains sisters from various congregations that are partnering with us. And we are using a collaborative model in our committee work with our archivists and in all that we do because we feel that that, again, is a witness and a reflection of the work of Catholic sisters. So I think when we first did this presentation a year or so ago, we had a little over 14 congregations, and we've now grown to 41 participating congregations and monasteries across the United States, and 2 in, that includes 2 in Canada. Both are Benedictine communities. So you can see that we kind of are spread out, and we're very excited about the people that have chosen to partner with us. We feel that that combination of various charisms really will allow our user and researchers coming into the facility to have a very rich experience. All right, why aren't you moving? Okay. So in our model, we are not connected to a specific college or a university. We chose to locate ourselves in a nexus where there are several colleges, universities, museums, and archival facilities within about a 15-mile radius of where our facility will be built. So just to kind of acclimate you, right here, you can see where WRAC is going to be located here. We've purchased property from the Sisters of Charity of St. Augustine, who have traditionally served in this area. You can see the footprint from their health center at the top of your screen. They have served in this area since 1865. It was important for our partners for us to be in an area where sisters have traditionally served and where we can make an investment in a community that needs and would benefit from an investment. And where we are being located in the central neighborhood area, Cleveland, outside of downtown, is really an area that has a very rich history. Langston Hughes lived here for a period of time, but the work in Central has been very important. But unfortunately, they were the victims of redlining. And so now our city, our county, And a lot of partners are coming together to see how we can invest in this area and instead of gentrify it, create a renaissance in this area. So we're very excited about it. So literally next door to us is Cuyahoga Community College, which is a two-year school. And Cuyahoga Community College, their downtown campus spans not only the area next to us, but you can see a little bit further up the road here, which is a couple blocks of a walking distance from us, is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Library and Archives. So they have been a nice partner in this with us and conversation partner. And there are also some various ministries that belong to the Sisters of Charity Health System. So we're going to be in an area where there are new things happening and where a renaissance will be occurring. We've also created partnerships with other area agencies. We have the Western Reserve Historical Society, the main branch of the Cleveland Public Library, which has a new state-of-the-art digitization and conservation lab, which we are welcome to use at any time. And we have 6 colleges and universities that we look to partner with. And we hope that that will help us to create a robust intern program, but also really feed into our research facility. So this is a rendering from our architects of what the building is going to look like. It's going to be a 2-story facility. I know that as archivists on this, you're probably saying, oh my goodness, all the glass and the light that's coming into that building. That portion of the building is the more public space. So it will be a 2-story building. The first floor will mainly be what is open to the public. The back part of the building, where you see more of the brickwork, is where the vault will be located. So there'll be an inner container and the vault will be a 2-story vault with compact mobile shelving. So this kind of gives you a bit of a bird's eye view of the building. Not only are we trying to create a space that we want to have people come into to research, but we want to have it be a space that is welcome and inviting. And so we've created an outdoor plaza where people can feel comfortable to come and add some beauty to the neighborhood. So we have 3 priorities for our center, and that obviously is to share and to study and to secure. So we are going to be building an exhibit space within our facility. And in that exhibit space, we have been working with a contractor that will actually help us. They're helping us to design the exhibit space. And then we are also working with a communications firm here located in Cleveland, and they work with museums across the country, and they're helping us to tell the story and how we will do the layout within the actual exhibit space. Some things will be permanent, but we'll also have some rotating exhibits based on different subject areas that we're going to be talking about. So we will not only be taking the important papers from a congregation, but we will be taking some artifacts that are related to the congregation themselves. Study. So we are going to have a dedicated space on the 2nd floor for researchers to come. We're very excited to give them space where they'll feel comfortable, where Sarah, our lead archivist, can provide them oversight and can answer any requests that they have. And then finally, we will have an area to secure. So obviously the vault, 2 stories, as I said, compact mobile shelving, temperature controlled, humidified, and also with a fire suppression system. So this gives you a bit of the floor plan. This will be the 1st floor of the building. You can tell the majority of the space that you see here in purple is going to be where the archive storage is. We also have in that 1st floor the area for processing and digitization. We have a conference room on the 1st floor as well. As people come into our main entrance here, we have a main lobby. People then will be able to enter into the exhibit space. And then we also have a multi-purpose room. That conference room will be used for researchers or for people to come in, and we can host presentations of the work that's been done. We can also host movie nights. There's an unlimited amount of possibilities we can use this presentation area for. It will also be a rentable space so that groups in the area can come in and also rent that space, which will provide us with a stream of revenue, which we're going to need to keep the facility running, obviously, into the future. We also have included a catering prep kitchen so that we can also provide people with food when they come on site. The second floor also has a conference room. Again, you see the archive storage. This is not necessarily how the shelving is going to be configured, but it was an original design. So we have been working with Patterson Pope to work on the layout design. And then you can see where the research room is up here, so where a researcher can be located. And then we also have a space on this other side here where if some of the archivists that are still currently working with the collections that will be in our custody, they can come in if they want to spend a period of time there. They'll have their own desk. They'll have a space that they can utilize. And then, of course, office spaces for staff. So this gives you a rendering of the lobby itself. We're going to have an interactive screen that you can see here in the middle space here. And then this kind of is the entryway as you lead into the exhibit space and then the multi-purpose room. And then this just kind of gives you a visual of what the multi-purpose room can look like. We can set it up in various ways. We can do tables. We can set it up in the lecture seating. We can do theater style. We wanted the space to be as flexible as possible because we believe it's important to not only provide the materials for research, but also allow people to have a place, to have a forum to present their research. So as I said at the beginning, that's what we've been spending a lot of time doing. We're really looking at creating deep relationships with several organizations. We also held a day where we invited local educators, high school principals, teachers, spiritual advisors. Our diocesan group came in, they had a representative about how they may use our facility for field trips or for using it for future students to understand historical preservation, the history of religious life, how they might need to do some research themselves. So we wanted to be able to see how flexible our space can be and how many audiences we could interest in coming into our space. Sarah also holds monthly meetings with our archivist group. So any of our participating archivists are welcome to join us once a month, and they talk about their collections. They may talk about certain projects they're working on. And it's really a time for them to do professional sharing with one another and also for mutual support and problem solving. This is a visit that we made to the downtown main branch of the public library. We heard about how they have made some of the changes there and how they worked on their digitization and conservation space. So just kind of gleaning off of the wisdom of others has been important to us. And then as we've been moving along, our building obviously is not built yet. We plan on putting shovel in ground, hopefully in the next few weeks. That's our trajectory. So we're just still waiting on some permits from the city. We're finalizing some of the financing for the gap so that we have enough money for the construction to see it through. And if all goes according to plan, we should have our occupancy permit by December of 2026. And so in the meantime, we have had to put some collections in storage. We've had some congregations whose mother houses have been sold, and so they've needed to find a landing space for some of their collections. And so our team has gone to these various congregations, have helped them to organize their collection so that we can match the finding aid to what is on a pallet. And then once it's in our storage facility, if we needed to, Sarah can go in and find something that a congregation may have sent that they still need to have access to. So we're looking forward to opening. We're looking forward to our vision, which we're hoping that our exhibit space will also have a companion website to it, so that anybody from around the world can come into our exhibit space, can experience that, can access the collections appropriately. So, kind of really trying to take the far look down the road. So doing a lot of work now to just get the building raised, and then also, what is the vision for the future? So trying to be as nimble and flexible as possible. So as I said, we have 41 congregations, but we believe at the end of the day, our facility will be able to manage up to 75 based on the space that we know. So that is my presentation. I really appreciate that the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm very grateful to my staff. Many of you know Sarah Lubelski, who is on the part of the ACWR executive committee. And so Sarah is working as our lead archivist, and Margaret Eichste is our managing director. So we're really grateful for our team. We also have a finance director, a board of directors, and we're a functioning nonprofit. So just very grateful for all the work that's happened over the last 2 years, and grateful for all of those who have had an interest in looking for your archives to go somewhere, maybe not necessarily with us, but looking for who's the best match. So thank you.
Thank you, Sister Susan. Okay, next up we have Holly Fiedler. Sorry, Fiedler. Holly Fiedler is the archivist for the Sisters of St. Francis, Sacred Heart Province, and is the board president for the Franciscan Central Archives. She is a Master of Art Conservation, 3 Bachelors of Science, and is a certified with the Society of American Archivists as a digital archive specialist. She has worked in archives for about 15 years, 2 years in museum collection management, and 14 years in conservation with experience from federal, state, academic, private, and nonprofit entities. When you're ready, Holly.
Please let me know if you're seeing the slide correctly.
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you. The Franciscan Central Archive has a mission to preserve, protect, and provide access to the records of its Franciscan entities for the purpose of research and knowledge through a collaborative repository that will carry the Franciscan charism and legacy into the future. We have 9 current communities from across the country with a strong presence from Rochester, Minnesota to the Chicago, Illinois area. We are also in various levels of conversations with a few other communities. You see before you our organizational structure, our board of directors, for which we have representation from our entities, a council of partners, which has leadership representation, and archivists from each of our communities, as well as advisors. And this is a larger platform for discussion and to keep our members up to date. A lot of the work happens in our committees, for which we have 4 at the moment: executive, archive, education, outreach, and publications, as well as advancement. And I hope that you've seen our latest newsletter as part of our outreach efforts. Services and initiatives. Each member starts with an archival assessment. Veronica Buchanan, the FCA's lead archivist and board member, gathers initial information, performs an on-site assessment of the archives, and meets with a leadership team. This all takes about 3 days on site. This informs the FCA as to their collection and needs. Assessment findings apprise the board for planning outlined in our annual and multi-year strategic planning. Each partner's policies, including restrictions, inform the FCA policies. The FCA offers guidance, resources, and assistance to leadership, to include hiring of archivists. We assist with that process and have helped 2 different communities, one that's committed and another one that's in process. We have been awarded grants to help offset costs, support to our community archives and our growing organization. The FCA is helping member archivists prepare their collections. The board will work with each community leadership to complete agreements. Legacy planning has begun. Donations are being collected to be rolled into an endowment. We are planning to open on or before 2033. We recognize the need to meet each partner's timeline and have contingency plans for our partners that may need to move prior to the facility opening through subcontracted space with the Order of Friars Minor archive space in Chicago. This brings us to kind of current activities. So, oops, sorry. We value our partners' voice and participation towards the decision-making process, bylaws, policies, procedures, and initial agreements. We recognize the value of processing and describing collections within their communities to document the provenance and intent, thus preserving the integrity prior to moving the collections. Each archive will be inventoried with a simple collection summaries, and Veronica has gathered members' record groups, and archivists are defining their controlled vocabularies, starting with member lists and sites. The FCA will initiate a shared content management system to facilitate accessibility for its members and researchers. Each community's lived experience and expression of charism is evidenced in the archives and their collection descriptions. Oops, sorry, one. So this is a bit of what is currently going on for us. We have with a grant outline from the Academy of American Franciscan History. I wish to highlight at the bottom our work with Ally Sterling Philanthropy, who's working with us on a case study in focus groups. This brings us to relationships and broader inclusion. So, we are part of what is the Franciscan Forum. This forum started about 2 years ago after a Franciscan Federation conference. We are from varied organizations, congregations, associates, historians, center retreats or retreat centers, and universities. Before you is our defined vision, interests, and needs. Through this forum, we are building a network of support. This includes the Franciscan Federation and CFIT, the Commission on Franciscan Intellectual Tradition, which is working on digital collections platform with Danny Michaels, who also built the National Institute for Newman Studies digital collections with a software called Rednall. Together, the Forum and the FCA, we are working on a shared grant with more than 11 Franciscan communities and organizations to help bring funds for processing, finding aids, digitization, and the start of a Franciscan directory, which will become our Franciscan database. Dee Gallo will be assisting us with research for the directory, and Danny Michaels will be assisting us with digital guidelines and framework for our future digital collections platform. All that said, we also look forward to when it will be possible to be part of the larger women religious discussion and platform of the NAPWR, the National Archives Project for Women Religious. Before you are our facility needs, financial planning is a priority for this year. Costs are being defined for its members. This is dependent upon the capital costs for each potential site, annual operating budgets projected from initial to full capacity, and the initial endowment. We are one of the interested parties with representation on a board of the Chicago Collaborative Archives Center, with the OFM's Archives and Library and the McGrill Center at Dominican University. This board is growing. Below, you can see the scale of our needed facility. We welcome a range of archives from nonprofits to corporate to civic and federal. Interest and attention has been growing for the CCAC. Through the CCAC board member Ward Miller, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago, and Capri Investment Group, founder and executive chairman Quentin Primo III, conversations are occurring with Chicago area county archives, the Episcopal Church, and a significant local museum. We highlight that Chicago is a central location. It's the headquarters of the Society of American Archivists and the American Library Association. The facility will provide shared resources and opportunities for access, advocacy, and programming. This brings us to our current 4 lead sites for considerations. Each has their own strengths. A decision will be made by the end of the year in consideration of financial evaluations. The first you may have heard of because it's gotten the most press. It's the Century and Consumers Building in downtown Chicago on State Street. 2 primary commercial office buildings. You see that it has a combined square footage of 240,000 square feet. It is owned by the GSA, and Capri Investment Group would obtain a 99-year lease. It would have additional square feet with a new building between for compact storage. This project and the building would be managed by Capri for its tenants. Next, Lighter 2 building that was for a long-time stronghold and center or headquarters for Sears Roebuck and Company. One of its latest tenants was the Robert Morris University Center building. This too is on State Street and located across from Public Library. This building is significantly larger than the other 2 combined at a 450,000 square feet. Right now, it is not listed for sale, but we are in conversation with CW Capital Asset Management, who acquired it for $20 million at auction at 2023. The idea being here that, again, Capri would purchase the building for its tenants. Robert Morris had a library on the 7th floor just before COVID hit. Both these sites are directly on public transportation CTA lines with easy access to either of the 2 international airports, which also, I would say, this area is ripe with multiple universities and colleges. Next, we have what I'm calling a religious property. It is just an hour outside of downtown Chicago, and we are under conversations with the owners of the property. The idea being that we will work through this visioning period to determine a possibility of site on the property. It would likely be a new build, and we are asking that it would be ownership of land. So conversation and visioning are ongoing with the current owners, and they are aware of the potential partners and the scale and size that we'd need for this land. These conversations are ongoing with a architect firm that we are very familiar with. This site is within about 45 minutes reach to the airports, and again, area has plenty of universities and colleges. This last site is an interesting building that I'll call the medical and residential property. Again, we're under a period of visioning and discussion with the owners. This gets further afield. This is in Wisconsin. The building, given the bulk of the recent renovations or recent extension builds, is a medical, and so the floor weight is ample for compact storage. This building is about 200,000 square feet. It's currently listed. An advantage related to this building is there's possible flexibility on price, maybe initial investments, or a very low percentage loan from the owner for purchase. So conversations are ongoing with visioning of the current owners. What else to add for this? The owners and the site have a positive collaboration with the land and both private and public university, and it's close to a rail station as well as an airport. These last 2 properties with the current communities and land provide a really nice opportunity to embrace Laudato Si. So I close with saying thank you, and please note that by the end of the year, through various levels of conversation, a decision on the site will be made with defined financial considerations for its partners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Holly. I appreciate your time with this. Next, we have Jennifer Head. Jennifer is the Congregational Archivist for the Sisters of Charity of the Blessed Virgin Mary and is the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of the Heritage and Research Center at St. Mary's, often known as HARC. She is a certified archivist and a digital archive specialist. Jennifer has a BA in history from DePaul University and an MA in history from the Catholic University of America and an MLIS from Dominican University.
Thank you. Like everyone else, I'm going to share my screen. And you're not cooperating. And it doesn't want to cooperate with me.
Oh,
I mean, we could see it.
I was
Okay, there we go. Okay. So the Heritage and Research Center at St. Mary's, also known as HARC, is located on the shared campus of St. Mary's College and the Sisters of the Holy Cross. HARC is a 401c3 and is listed in the Catholic Directory. We have 10 member congregations that you can see listed on your screen. The exact makeup of the colleges has changed, or the collaborators has changed slightly. We've had a few congregations drop out, but those have been replaced by others. So we are standing at 10. These congregations have fully funded HARC. We are self-funded. We asked each congregation for 2 pools of money, one pool as a construction fee, and then another pool for an endowment fee. And we gave them the option to pay in installments, which worked out really well for us. So this is an artist rendering of the buildings. The building you see here to the left is an existing building on St. Mary's campus. It's the Welcome Center, right near the front of campus. If you're familiar with St. Mary's, it's along the avenue lined with all the beautiful oak trees. And St. Mary's is leasing this to us. This will need some minor renovations, mostly a cosmetic, new carpet, new paint, some new fixtures. It's currently being used as the construction trailer for the construction company, so we don't have to add that additional expense to our construction fee. And this building behind is the new construction. The front part of the building is going to house the exhibit space and offices, and that back portion, the L portion, is going to house the repository. So we broke ground on July 26th, 2024. You can see pictured here are the board of directors and representatives from each member congregation. It was a very exciting day for all of us. So this is some of the most current pictures of the construction that's going on right now. You can see the brownish colored brick is the corner of the Welcome Center. And then the building behind is the new build. And if you, the second picture on the right is looking towards the vault. We are currently on pace to open up in the end of October 2025. We've had a few little hiccups. There's been some slight delay on some of the materials for the roof, but they don't anticipate that's going to delay construction any. There is a little bit of concern about what the current trade situation is going to do with, but we are still fairly confident that it will open on time. So this is the floor plan. You can see to your right is the already existing Welcome Center, and the left is the new construction. The Welcome Center is going to house the office for the executive director. It's going to be the reception area. There's a meeting room, and there will be a break room for employees. We had hoped to connect the 2 buildings together, but unfortunately that ended up being cost prohibitive. So instead we tried to make it as close to each other as we could so that when you're trying to run back and forth in the dead of winter, you don't freeze quite so much. And then the new construction houses the vault. It has a heritage walk, which will be permanent exhibits for each member congregation, as well as a regular space that can be used for exhibits, for events, anything like that that we need. We have a designated quarantine space in the new build with the expectation that eventually that quarantine space will become another office. We also have a reading room and a workroom for the archives team. So this is the architect's render of what the reading room will look like. You'll notice towards the front of the room, you'll see 2 glass windows which go into the workroom so that the archivist can observe what is happening in the reading room to make sure nobody tries to slice out or smuggle out any type of documents. This room will also be used for classrooms. And you can see the doorways to the right are the access to the exhibit space. So this is a view into the workroom for the archivist. There will be a digitization station. You can see the desks where you can work and keep an eye on the reading room. This will also have space for visiting archivists from the member congregations. There will be some large tables in there for work purposes. And then from this room, you'll have access to the vault as well as offices for the archivist and hopefully an assistant archivist in the future. Entrance to the vault and to the space will be by some type of key card access so that the general public cannot find their way in. And then this is the rendering of what the exhibit spaces will look like. The main space you can see will be for those temporary exhibits and event space. And through the doorways will lead to the heritage walk for those permanent exhibits for each congregation. And then you can just barely see back there the door into the reading room. And then this is a look into what the archival vault is going to look like. We will have compact mobile shelving. It will be the hand cranks, not the electric. We have some art racks for, we have one congregation coming in that has a very extensive art collection, as their college had a liturgical art program. We'll have space for storage of larger artifacts. We have asked the congregations to think carefully about what larger artifacts that they send to us. We understand that certain artifacts are crucial to tell the story of that congregation. We just asked them to make sure that it really is important to that story. So we will have larger spaces, shelving with larger spaces to house those congregations' artifacts. So what else is happening? So we're scheduled for completion at the end of October, and we hope to start moving collections in middle to end of November. We do have a basic website up. It's still undergoing some changes, but as you know, many people will tell you, if you're not on the web, you don't exist. We are currently in the process of hiring an executive director, and that executive director will hire an archivist. The archivist from the Sisters of the Holy Cross will be assisting at HARC as part of a shared services agreement with the sisters. And down the road, we'll hope to hire a receptionist, a curator, and then potentially a paraprofessional or another archivist. We are also working on the moving logistics. We are hoping to be able to move 4 congregations in once and quarantine them, one in the quarantine space, one in the exhibit space, one in the heritage walk, and one in the reading room, but we would leave the workroom for any work that does need to get done. So we're very excited. We've been working on HARC since 2018. I was part of that original Day of Dreaming in 2018. And so it's just very exciting to see that HARC appears to finally be coming to fruition. And I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Up next, this wasn't on our original announcement, but we do have Thomas Lester from Boston College. Michael Burns was going to be with us, but wasn't able to make it today. So Thomas has agreed to step in. Thomas Lester has been the director of the Catholic Religious Archives at Boston College since January of 25. He also serves as a liaison with Boston College Libraries and the National Archives Project for Women Religious. A graduate of Simmons University with an MA in History and an MLS in Archives Management, Thomas spent the last 10 years as director of the Archives and Library at the Archdiocese of Boston. He is vice president, president-elect of the Association of Catholic Diocesan Archivists, ACDA, and is on the steering committee of the Catholic Religious Organization Studying Slavery, also known as CROSS. When you are ready to.
All right. Thank you, Michelle, and good afternoon, everyone. And I'm going to apologize. I don't actually have any slides for you because I just found out I was presenting this morning, so it's been a quick turnover for me. So I'm sorry, I'm just going to speak and share with you without any visuals. So as was mentioned, I joined the team here at the CRA in January as the director. Michael is and remains the founding director, so we're working as a duo right now. And then down the line, as he plans his retirement, we'll have enjoyed this transition period together. And so I'm learning from him, but also my sort of day-to-day role right now as a trained archivist is implementing professional standards throughout everything we do here at the CRA. So that's everything from supervising our staff. We have 2 staff archivists right now. Brandy joined us from Catholic University, where she received her MLS, and Katie, who is a former archivist for the Sisters of St. Joseph in Boston. So they both have the right background and found their home here and are doing some exceptional work for us. We're also overseeing collections management, so that's everything from space management for incoming collections to setting priorities for processing, making sure everything's in proper materials, doing some mold remediation and sort of any of those components you can think of that go along with that. We're also getting our online catalog populated in the background. It's not public yet, but as we process, we will eventually publish our online catalog using archive space, so congregations as well as outside researchers can see what we have here. And then also one of our priorities right now, or I should say my priority, is implementing a digital preservation program. Just in my few short months here, we've already had a lot of questions. What are we going to do with digital records? What about analog media like reel-to-reel films? We can't necessarily run through a projector. What are we going to do with those? So we're going to be probably digitizing them, and we want to have a safe solution to store those and preserve those digital assets. So hopefully in the next couple of months, that will all be up and running as well. One of the benefits also mentioned about Boston College is I am sort of the point person to connect with other projects in the BC libraries, and we're sort of taking a holistic approach, if you will, to Catholic records. So we have the archival piece and the records, but the other libraries are doing some amazing work, and a few of those projects are going to be announced in the next few weeks. So mapping out different Catholic institutions using GIS technology, creating an online Catholic library. So we can say, here's a congregation's official history, here's the official biography of their foundress, and we can actually host a digital version of those official publications online. And that way, as people are searching our catalog and looking through collections, they have direct access to some of those published materials as well. So we're trying to coordinate some of those projects and give everyone a nice experience here. We're also located in the Theology and Ministry Library, so researchers would have the entire Theology and Ministry Library collection here at their disposal if they're in our reading room. My first week here, they broke ground on a new building. So we're on the first floor of the Theology and Ministry Library right now. We're going to maintain that footprint, and then attached to this building is a brand new facility that is just going to be environmentally controlled storage for our collections. The building is going to be 44,000 square feet and contain 100,000 linear feet of compact shelving, totally controlled environments. appropriate fire suppression. We'll have a loading dock to bring collections in. We have a negative pressure space off of that so we can quarantine materials while we check them over for mold and other issues. We'll have space around the outside of the 2 floors to hang artwork, and we'll also have a secure vault for some of the most valuable documents and artifacts and other materials that warrant it. So that'll be connected to our current footprint. And here we're going to continue to have a processing space with almost 2,500 feet of shelving. We'll probably use that for incoming collections as we process them. We have a public exhibit space attached to a 100-seat auditorium, so we can use that to host talks and other things to promote the collections and the exhibits that we have on rotation. And we'll also have a reading room that's we're using as a workspace right now, but that will be renovated before we open. The building is supposed to be ready in June 2026. I'm told we're on schedule. They just poured the retaining walls this week and last, and they're going to start on the foundation, I think, next week. And then we'll be opening sometime during the summer of 2026. Once the building is ready, give us a few weeks to move the collections in there, and then we'll be probably opening up officially at that time. In addition to our 2 archivists and myself and Michael, we're also probably over the next few months to a year expanding our team to start thinking about who should be supervising the reading room, if we need more processing archivists and those types of roles. So we'll be growing both our footprint and our team over the next year to year and a half as we get ready for opening. We accept collections of any size. We don't restrict people to how many linear feet they can send us. So, as many permanent records as needs to be saved and preserved, we will accept those. The timing is also flexible. As we kind of inch towards the opening of the building, we might want to discuss waiting until that is open, but we know there are some circumstances where property is being leased or sold and records need to be moved. So we have a little bit of room at the theology library, but then Boston College also bought an adjacent small college, which is about a mile away, and we have use of their entire library as well, just temporarily until the new building is secured. So it'll all be in our hands and supervised directly by our team here. And then we can accept any format. We have artwork, we have furniture, we have paper, obviously, publications, any kind of media you can think of, from open reel audio and reel-to-reel film up through audio cassettes and DVD and born digital materials we're receiving on hard drives. We have the records of 43 congregations in our building now, and we have a few agreements that are signed, and those are all waiting until the new building is ready so they can send it once we have that extra shelf space. It is worth mentioning that our president, Father Leahy, is overseeing this personally, and it means quite a lot to him and providing this service to religious congregations. So his rule is that there is no fee to deposit records with us and no ongoing annual fee for maintenance. I've been told the building is already funded, and then he's working on building up an endowment for us, so we'll have sustainable funding well into the future as well. If you'd like to contact us, our website is catholicarchives.bc.edu. If you log in from one day to the other right now, we're actually updating it, so you might see some pages change over the next few weeks. But you can always reach us there. There's Michael remains the point of contact, so his email and phone number are there, or you can reach us through the contact form. You can also find us both on the BC Library's staff directory. And we're pretty insistent the conversation is not an obligation. So if you have some preliminary questions as you begin to consider this, we're more than happy to spend the time addressing those and sharing a little bit more about the CRA here at Boston College, so you can make the decision that's right for you and your congregation. And I think that's all I have for you. Again, sorry for not having any visuals for you, but thank you for bearing with me. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer those at the end.
Thank you, Thomas. We appreciate it. We know you came in very last minute, so we appreciate that you were able to still be with us. Even if you didn't have visuals, that's okay. So our last panelist is Nadia Nasr. She is the head of Archives and Special Collections at Santa Clara University. Since 2015, Santa Clara has worked to preserve and provide access to women religious congregation archives. Nadia holds a BA in French with minors in Business and English from Mississippi College and an MLIS from the University of Southern Mississippi.
Nadia, we can't hear you.
I forgot to unmute. My apologies. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michelle, for the introduction. I'm honored to be here with the Collaborative Archives panelists at the session today, and I'm happy to answer any questions when we open up the floor for Q&A. Really quickly, I'm just going to give a brief overview of kind of the long tale of our history working with collaborative archives. As I've given variations of this presentation in recent years, I've come to realize that our more recent collaborations preserving congregation archives are really just the latest in a series of collaborations which date to the Jesuits' founding of Santa Clara College in 1851. Father Nobili, an Italian Jesuit, inherited the Mission Santa Clara manuscript and library collection from the last Franciscan to administer sacraments at Mission Santa Clara. And we continue to preserve and administer the Jesuit-generated university records that date from the early years of the college to the present. And these institutional records are also complemented by personal papers of Jesuits and alumni from throughout the school's history. The Mission Santa Clara Library books form the core beginnings of the college library. And then since 2015, as Michelle indicated, we've been working to balance our Jesuit male-centric collections to reflect more of the contributions of women in theology in the Catholic Church, with a special emphasis on women religious. Our second collaborative foray, contributing to the care of Catholic religious records, began in 2010 when the California Jesuit Province, our founding religious order, relocated its archives from its Los Gatos novitiate to the newly constructed library and learning commons, where archives and special collections are presently housed. The province covered the cost to transport the collections to SCU and supplied insurance coverage, as well as a province-designated archivist. Cost sharing for that included a one-time fee to purchase a computer that SCU replaced every 4 years, as well as a $5,000 annual fee, which increased at the rate of 3% per annum. And then SCU supplied state-of-the-art archival storage facilities and shared use of its Norman F. Martin reading room and the office space and equipment, as well as networking and cataloging platforms and other support to the province archivist. This arrangement ended in 2018 when the California Province Archives were relocated to the Jesuit Archives and Research Center in St. Louis, Missouri. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think I went too far ahead. Okay. Sorry about that. So archives and special collections at SCU is housed in the Library and Learning Commons. Our facilities include our 500 square foot Norman F. Martin SJ reading room, our 1,100 square foot exhibition gallery and classroom, approximately 2,100 square feet of staff and processing suites, a 3,200 square foot temperature and humidity controlled vault, and additional high density storage in our automated storage and retrieval system. Although we are a well-established and decently funded archival unit, taking on women religious archives is no small feat, as many of my panelist colleagues know, and that requires long-term funding and support. So Sisters of the Holy Family, our first congregation to donate their archives, is preparing to close their religious order. They were looking not only to preserve their own past, but also to live their mission and charism into the future. So they established two endowments. The first, two endowments and one expendable fund. So the expendable fund of $100,000 offset costs shared with Santa Clara for the initial transfer and enhanced description of the archives. A project which cost approximately $200,000 and achieved in 6 months what would have taken us 2 to 3 years at our current staffing levels. SHF also established two endowed funds that generate revenue for both the long-term care of their collections and anticipated future transfers. And then a second endowed fund enhances our archival programming centered on women religious congregations in the West. As we continue forward, the university is preparing for a new capital campaign. We anticipate in the coming years being able to raise funds to build that second endowment to support a variety of initiatives. We've already been able to use that to offset costs of other archival donations. We've done a couple of small digitization projects. And we also hope that we might be able to supply small grants or perhaps fund a full-time staff position to support preservation and use of our women religious collections. Up until this point, I've been doing this work on top of my regular job, the outreach and coordination with congregational archivists, and then coordinating with the companies that we use to move the collections. And we have been using our existing staff to support reference and other collection needs. But as we get further down the road and anticipate having more interest in use of these collections, we are definitely going to need some additional staffing on top of the staff that we have. Although we miss the collections and the expertise of Brother Dan, who was the Jesuit province archivist, the relocation of the Jesuit province archives made room for our expanding collection centered on women religious. We debuted our flagship collection, the Professional Papers of Sandra Schneider's IHM, many, many years ago now, with the spring exhibition that featured at the opening reception of the 2016 Conference on the History of Women Religious. In 2019, we executed a gift agreement that designates SCU as the future home of the archives of the Sky Arch Hermitage, which is the St. Albans main home of a canonical hermitess, where she's lived since 1994. And then that same year, we also completed a project to transfer the Fremont, California Sisters of the Holy Family Archives to SCU as that congregation is preparing for completion. And then calendar year 2024 was a really big year for us in terms of archival donations and transfers. This also is the result of many years of conversations and dialogues with different congregations. But in 2024, we completed 4 congregational archives transfers, and these were from the Tacoma Dominicans and Associates in Tacoma, Washington, the United States Province of the Holy Union Sisters in Fall River, Massachusetts, the Sisters of the Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary in San Francisco, and the Sisters of St. Louis in Woodland Hills, California. And then also for the Sisters of the Holy Family, about a year ago, we received the archives of their first day home, the Holy Family Day Home. And then I'm currently in conversation with the archivist in charge of the St. Vincent's Day Home archives they're located in Oakland, and we're preparing that collection for transfer. And then when St. Vincent's collections come to us, this will be the final, not the ultimate final donation of archives, but it will be the last transfer of known commitments that we've had up to this point. Toward the end of calendar year 2024, I received a couple of inquiries from small congregations in the Los Angeles area who are just beginning their discernment process. So those conversations will be ongoing, and we'll see ultimately what they decide to do. So that's essentially it in a nutshell for what has been happening at Santa Clara with our collaborative Women Religious Archives initiatives. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Nadia, and thank you to all of our speakers for participating today. I'm going to open us up to questions. I did have a few that came in on the chat that I'm going to start with. A few people did address this in the presentations, but not everybody. How many cubic feet are there going to be for archival storage in your facilities? And how are you paying for the building and staff? And I think a few people addressed this, but for those that didn't, if you would be willing to share that info if you can.
Sure, I'd be happy to go. This is Sister Susan from WRAC. We will have, our building is approximately 32,000 square feet. Of that 32,000 square feet, 16,000 square feet are the vault itself. In terms of funding, we have been running a capital campaign. The congregations have been donating to that, but we've also have been making a concentrated push to our public. So it's a mix of public and private and some grant financing. And moving into the future, the endowment will help, but we've also tried to create, as I mentioned, the revenue stream in the building. So looking at having that exhibit space, are we going to have a flat rate for people to come in, and what you would do with a researcher if somebody wanted to rent the space for a presentation. So our model is not to charge the communities for their space that they would utilize. It's just whatever a community can afford, and we work with them. The idea of a collaborative is that everybody's contribution helps everyone else.
So for HARC, our vault is approximately 3,100 square feet, and the rest of the space is about 5,100 square feet. And as I stated, we are self-funded. We asked the congregations for money for both construction and endowment, and that money was based upon the size of the collection that would be coming to HARC.
Ali, I think you did a pretty good job of explaining. I think you did. Or do you have anything you want to add?
I would just say that the size of our storage is still being evaluated based on current needs. It's significant because we're also accepting artwork and objects. We are working with communities to identify which pieces fit with their mission and are appropriate to get to essential, but we have a few communities with very strong art collections. And so, for instance, one collection is 9,000 square feet. So we are open to that. Our finance model is between investors. It's also from our partners for what they can contribute, because we too are collaborative. We have donors from various scales. And the idea of setting up the endowment, we too recognize that there needs to be a mixed form of income coming in on various platforms. So that will depend on each site, but it does relate to programming and the site specifically. Thank you.
Another question we had is, I don't think everybody caught the locations of the archives. Could you again just state where exactly it's planning to be, if you know?
For the FCA going into the CCAC, we're looking at 2 sites downtown. Then there's one that's a site about an hour's or less than an hour's reach from downtown Chicago. And the 3rd site is in Wisconsin, or 4th site in Wisconsin. Those are the sites we're currently looking at.
And Sister Susan, where's WRAC?
WRAC is located in downtown Cleveland.
And HARC?
HARC is located on the campus of St. Mary's College in Notre Dame, Indiana.
And Boston College? It's not clear from the title.
We're in Boston. Actually, half the campus is not, but we are on the Boston side.
Okay. And Nadia?
Yeah, so Santa Clara University is in Santa Clara, California, just a stone's throw from San Jose. So we're in the South Bay area.
Thomas, we just did get a message asking if you could repeat the website again for the program.
Oh, certainly. It's catholicarchives.bc.edu. I can drop that in the chat as well if you'd like.
Thank you. Any other questions? One question I had is, I think some of you mentioned it, but I don't know if everybody did. Are you still accepting collections? Or are you still willing to speak with communities about accepting collections?
From the FCA side, very much so, as well as the Chicago Collaborative Archives side, yes. And on the Chicago Collaborative Archives side, we are in discussions related to setting up a regional. And if you're a large, I guess, standalone congregation, for instance, like the Order of Friar Minors, they're very large standalone.
At this time, HARC is not. We are building to suit the needs of our 10 congregations. We did, look into the possibility of building with expansion in mind, but felt that it would not be fair to the other congregations since they are funding this to ask them to fund congregations who may not ever come in. In the future, we've talked about possibly if several more congregations wanted to join, that would be something to have a discussion about. But right now, we are closed to other congregations.
WRAC is open to having more conversations with communities. We do have the ability to take on probably, an additional 35 more congregations based on the size. We also have, we've worked with our architects to construct the building that should we need to grow more in the future, that we can expand the space.
Boston College is open to all conversations. We will definitely have the space when the new building is ready. But again, with our current space and then the college library that Boston College recently purchased next door, if it's an urgent matter, we can accept the collections fairly quickly.
For Santa Clara, we are still open to conversations. We are to some extent, at least in our special collections vault, approaching capacity there, but we do also have the high density automated storage and retrieval system, which gives us a little bit more capacity. But I would say that we would probably want to limit our conversations to smaller congregations who have maybe around 100 to 150 linear feet of materials. And I think that's what we have capacity for in the short term, while we need to do a little bit of consolidating of some of the collections that came in. But we otherwise are open again to conversations with smaller congregations who have smaller archives.
Another question has come in on the chat. Do you accept collections in any state or level of quote unquote processing? So do you have a level of processing or a level of organization required for any collections coming into your archives? For those that are accepting.
We do at Boston College. We have everything from collections that come in archival boxes with folders and Excel sheets to upload to our catalog, to moving boxes with hanging files that were sort of tilted in, and we even received some kitchen utensils in one box. Might have been directed to the wrong location, but if things come organized in archival containers, we're not really too hands-on with that. We want to retain the original order, but if something comes that's just has to be moved quickly and it's dumped in a box, we have the resources here to make sure everything's properly housed, properly described, properly cataloged, and then stored long term. So we might have discussions to figure out what we're receiving, but we can take anything regardless of the condition it's in.
For HARC, we asked our congregations to, at the very least, give us a box and folder list. We said a good, better, best for how we would like them processed, and good was just give us that box and folder list. Better was include some more details with that box and folder list, and best would of course be a DAX compliant finding aid, but we're not expecting too many of those.
I would agree. Our short answer is yes. We're taking collections however we receive them. However, we've had the luxury of time, as I said, meeting with the archivist monthly, that Sarah and our team is able to get a handle on how the collections are organized, and to help, at least to Jennifer's point, get at least a good box and folder list and have a sense of what is in the collection and how somebody wants that managed. It's also helping them to fill out their legal agreement and the attachment about managing the collection in perpetuity.
For the SCA, part of our onboarding process is to help them through an assessment. And we work with them if they don't have policy and procedure to identify that, and to get to a very minimum inventory. We do bring funds in to assist with, we prefer before they move to have basic information to us to include record groups as well as a list of members and basic sites, and that will help us provide access to them later, as well as help with the agreement process, because we also recognize that the best people to describe the collections are the people that created the collections, and we value the integrity of those collections. So we'll help them if their timeline is short to get through that before they move. But most of the collections we have now have more time, and therefore we can get to higher levels of standard.
For Santa Clara, I would echo what Holly said, and others as well, that it definitely helps a whole lot if the congregation itself or the person in charge of the archives who knows the collection far better than we do in that moment can do some of that processing work. In addition to what others have said, I've also, when I've had conversations, encouraged the congregational archivist to put together an overall record group schema, or sort of in simpler terms, like to indicate, which buckets you would group your records into. So those could be, founding, your foundress records, historical records. Everybody has personnel files, and other administrative kinds of records, materials related to ministries and that kind of stuff. So if you can figure out what your overall organizational schema is, in addition to grouping materials according to that, and then ideally having a box and folder list, that's that's the ideal. But we have accepted a couple of collections that have come as they were, where some of that work was in progress and we needed to finish that, the remainder of it on site once the collection came to us, because time was of the essence.
Thank you. We got another question that came to me asking, in terms of the archival contracts, are you accepting the collections as gifts or deposits, or both?
At WRAC, we're accepting them as both.
At HARC, we're also accepting them as both, with the expectation that the deposit agreement has language in it that on X date or after such a certain event, the collection becomes the property of HARC, and so it becomes eventually a deed of gift.
I kind of echo what Jennifer Head says. We're doing both. We just need to have very good discussions if they wish a deposit agreement about how to move forward, so that something cannot get lost in process later. So, yes.
For Santa Clara, we up until the most recent congregational transfer, everything has been deed of gifts. We did have one congregation that, upon reflection, felt that a deposit agreement that would eventually evolve into a deed of gift seemed more appropriate, based on their legal counsel's reading of the stable patrimony guidelines around religious archives, or how they interpreted that for religious archives.
And Thomas,
Boston,
do you have to say?
sorry, Boston College accepts gifts and deposits. We have two kind of template agreements we work from. We'll provide them both to any congregation who's interested in them. They're both up for discussion. We're not going to push anyone one way or the other. It's really what's best for them, and we'll happily kind of edit and accept either.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? I haven't seen any in the chat, but you can also raise your hand. I don't see any coming in, so I just want to say, on behalf of ACWR, thank you to our panelists. This was incredibly informational. We've learned a lot. I'm excited to see how far all of you are progressing, and am hopefully looking forward to all of us, I'm sure, seeing these collections or seeing these archives at some point. So thank you again. This will be recorded. It will be sent out to participants. And if you have any questions, you can always filter them through me if you need to, or Veronica, and we can get them onto our speakers if you don't have their contact info. So thank you very much.